Watch out for what comes out of that meeting, Ankur. Thanks very much for that. Now we're turning to the movies, and we're talking about no other than the movie that has released today, and that's Dunki, the Shah Rukh Khan starrer made by SRK-Hirani. It has opened to mixed reviews. One critic calls it a crushing bore, others say it is dunked in love. The question is whether Shah Rukh Khan can deliver a third consecutive hit after Pathaan and Jawan, and is 2023 turning out to be the year of Bollywood finally coming out of the woods after the pandemic, and big questions being raised whether or not people would throng the cinema halls again after the pandemic. But before we deep dive into that, let's see what the audiences that have watched Dunki have made of the movie. This is what they told us.
Dunki was a good movie. Shah Rukh Khan has done very good acting. You देखा तो Shah Rukh Khan एक जगह और पूरी picture एक जगह. Shah Rukh Khan has created his good performance.
Dunki is like average kind of film. Like it's a Rajkumar, proper Rajkumar-Hirani film, and social value, social issue is there about kabutarbazi. You can say illegal immigration, and it's not the same as Jawan and Pathaan.
It's HPD. सुपर पावर धमाकेदार शाहरुख खान इन डंकी मूवी.
एक्सपेक्टेशन के हिसाब से तो अच्छी नहीं है पिक्चर. जैसे कि मैंने कहा कि शाहरुख और राजकुमार ने जो अटेम्प्ट किया इस सब्जेक्ट को लेकर के, इसको कबूतरबाजी बोलते हैं. डंकी टाइटल जो दिया है उसको कबूतरबाजी बोलते हैं, जो पहले बहुत हुआ करती थी. इलीगल इमिग्रेंट्स जिसको बोलते हैं.
ब्रिलियंट शाहरुख खान वो तो हमेशा से ऑलवेज बेस्ट रहे हैं. हमेशा से उनका आज से नहीं बहुत लंबा करियर और हमेशा से बेस्ट रहा है. तो ये भी ठीक है. ब्रिलियंट एक्ट.
अरे बोले वो तो क्या है, अपना शाहरुख खान तो अपना भी एक नंबर है.
Well, that's what moviegoers have made of it. Let's find out from media analyst Karan Taurani, who's joining us now, Senior Vice President of Elara Securities, how he sees the movie business and Dunki in particular. Karan, good to speak to you about the movies, especially on a day that we've got another Shah Rukh Khan starrer releasing. How are projections on this movie, on Dunki? Would this be a good way to end a good year for the cinema business, especially for Bollywood? But also, of course, Salar Part 1 is the Prabhas starrer, which is actually the one that will close this calendar year. But tell us about Dunki first.
Hi, Vikram. Good evening. So I think if you look at box office, it's going to be a very strong month as far as December is concerned. We've got two films, Salar and Dunki, which are slated to release. In fact, Dunki released today already. And as per our expectations, both films could report a net box office of 800 to 900 crores put together, out of which Dunki would potentially do a number of about 350 crores domestic net box office. I think particularly for Dunki, the opening is going to be very strong because of Shah Rukh Khan, because of his track record this year, two blockbusters like Pathaan and Jawan. And post that, it's going to be word of mouth and reviews whether or not the film will breach the 405 crore mark. But as of now, I think 350 to 400 crores is what looks to be a sure thing, at least basis the strong advances that the film has got.
A lot of discussion about star power, the star power that brings audiences back to cinema halls after the kind of predictions and dire predictions being made during the pandemic. Shah Rukh Khan has done it with Pathaan and then Jawan, and now Dunki. Does seem promising, like you're pointing out. It begs the question, though, that if the big money spinners will continue to be the ones starring the biggest names of the movie business. In fact, I was looking at some data put out by Book My Show, which clearly points out that the biggest out-of-home recreation for Indians continues to be going to the movies. No surprises there, but who brings them out to watch these movies in cinema halls? Does it have to be a Shah Rukh Khan? And what kind of content that he makes turns out to be this compelling watch in movie halls today?
I think in the post-COVID era, I think the demand from the audience side, they've become more demanding as compared to what they were in the pre-COVID times, because they've been exposed to OTT and, very differentiated content over there. I think just run-the-mill kind of stories or films will not do. And it's a clear trend in the post-COVID era that, just pure stories or small, medium budget content is not doing well. The audience is willing to pay a premium in terms of ticket prices. Provided the content is compelling, provided it's at a large scale, it is worth their time, effort, and money spent, in terms of going and watching that particular movie. And that is why we have seen, films like Jawan, which are made at a large scale, films like Pathaan do well. There are other action films like, KGF 2, RRR. So I think action has been the big genre here because they're all large scale films. Similar is the trend for regional genre as well. Similar is the trend for Hollywood flicks as well. We've seen Mission Impossible, Oppenheimer kind of films do well despite very hefty ticket prices. So it's audience is very very selective. They are okay to pay a hefty premium, but it has to be worth their time and effort and money.
One report, Karan, that suggests that December alone has raked in 1,000 crore rupees at the box office, something that you started out by saying. So it's been good for Hindi movies. But if you do a year-on-year comparison for India's movie business as a whole, according to the same report, it has grown 4 times. So if this matches your analysis, Karan, then we've come a long way from the lull over the last couple of years. We wondered through the pandemic if audiences would return or not. Well, they have, and in a big way. But has it come at the cost of OTT players? Because at that time you were saying that OTT is taking over from cinema halls. Is the reverse happening, or both are thriving through 2023? What's the trend?
So I think as a trend, if you see, definitely cinemas have made a very strong comeback. For the first time, they've kind of touched pre-COVID levels occupancy in that quarter of Gadar and Jawan, where we saw both blockbusters coming in one single quarter. In this quarter, again, October, November has been muted, but December is very strong because of Animal, Dunki, and Salar. The only problem herein is that I think OTT still remains to be a concern for cinema because the kind of content they're offering is very differentiated. And the audience, specifically the youth audience, which used to go in cinemas large numbers, I think that is missing right now. And that's clearly visible in the box office collections as well. So if you look at the consistency, if you look at the way small, medium budget film consumption was happening, if you look at the occupancy levels pre-COVID times, it was average 32%. It even touched 35-40% in good times. But currently we are struggling to, kind of consistently move towards an occupancy of 20 and 30%. I think we're somewhere stuck in that occupancy range of 25-27% on a consistent basis. So occupancy really needs to move on consistently towards a 30% mark. To actually, kind of come to a conclusion that, we have come back in a very strong way. And obviously that will only depend on content. I mean, we need more scale-driven films. We need more large budget films with good quality star power, good quality VFX, and good quality content. It has to be a blend of all these 3 things if people were to come into cinema in large numbers. And I think if you look at the next year, CY24, we don't foresee that there is going to be a big growth on this kind of a base because Hollywood content is under some stress because of the Writer Association strike. Even if you look at the Hindi slate for the next 6 months, it doesn't seem to be very promising as compared to what it was 6 months ago. So I think next year is going to be a year of caution as far as content is concerned.
Quickly, before we wrap up this discussion, from a stock market perspective, where are you likely to see the biggest traction because of what is turning out to be a rather good year for 2023 and the pipeline looking promising as well?
So as I said, CY23 was a good year, and we've seen, the cinema stocks, touching highs. Some of them have also breached pre-COVID levels at some point of time when the films were doing well. But the problem persists. As I say, consistency is a key here. Our dependence on large budget film has increased tremendously in the post-COVID era. So if you look at the collections, in the pre-COVID times, close to 55% of the collections would come from large budget films. And now that is higher towards 85-90% of the contribution, which means that we are in a high risk kind of a scenario. These large budget films have to perform at box office. There is no respite from the medium budget films. And that's a trend across regionals, Hindi, everything, all genres put together. So I think that trend needs to reverse if you were to see a very strong comeback. And if you were to see, share price valuations moving beyond pre-COVID levels.
Out for that, and like we said, there are promising movies that are going to come our way as well. There is Sriram Raghavan's Merry Christmas, there is Siddharth Anand's Fighter, Dibakar Banerjee's LSD2, and of course Siddharth Malhotra's Yodha as well, all in the next few months. How they'll do is something that we'll be watching very closely, and Karan is always going to help us decode what's happening in the entertainment business. Great to have you on the show with us. Thanks for joining us.